Female SEAL sat quietly on the flight until fighter pilots called Iron Fist on the radio. Among the soldiers boarding the military transport plane, one figure stood out, but not for any obvious reason. She was just a woman in uniform, moving with quiet confidence, her steps measured and purposeful. There was no fanfare, no attempt to draw attention. She carried herself with a calmness that seemed almost unnatural in a room full of highly trained men preparing for a mission. She found her seat in the back of the plane, away from the chatter of the other passengers. As she settled in, she carefully checked her equipment. Every strap, every buckle, every piece of gear was examined with precision. Her movements were methodical, deliberate, and efficient. Nothing was left to chance. She didn't speak to anyone nearby. She didn't ask questions or make small talk. Her silence was intentional. It was a part of her preparation, a quiet demonstration of discipline honed through years of rigorous training. Around her, the cabin was filled with the sounds of soldiers securing their equipment, talking quietly in pairs and reviewing mission notes. Most of them were men, veterans of multiple deployments, familiar with the tension that comes before a classified mission. They were focused, mentally reviewing what they would do once they reached their destination. Some noticed her presence, but she was unobtrusive, almost blending into the background. Yet there was an undeniable aura about her, something that made others pause, even if they didn't immediately understand why. Her mind, however, was fully engaged. She was thinking about the mission ahead, considering every variable she might encounter. Every training exercise she had endured had prepared her for moments like this. Years of physical endurance, tactical drills, navigation exercises, and combat simulations had taught her to remain calm under pressure, to anticipate threats, and to act decisively when the moment came. She had trained to trust her instincts, to read situations accurately, and to act with precision. All of that training had led her to this moment, sitting quietly on a plane, preparing for what lay ahead. Despite her calm exterior, her body was ready for action. Her muscles were alert, her senses sharp, and her mind focused. She had learned early on that in high-pressure situations, calmness was just as important as strength. Panic or hesitation could be disastrous, and she had seen the consequences of mistakes too many times in training. Every action had a reaction, every decision mattered. The quiet she maintained was a deliberate part of her preparation, a way to center herself, to focus her energy, and to observe without distraction. The other passengers continued their preparations, unaware of the extraordinary skills of the woman seated among them. She was a Navy SEAL, one of the very few women to ever complete the notoriously grueling training program. Becoming a SEAL required not just physical strength, but mental resilience, endurance, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. She had faced challenges that most could not imagine. She had endured freezing cold waters, long marches with heavy loads, and countless hours of exercises designed to test both mind and body. She had learned to push through exhaustion, to overcome fear, and to remain calm when the situation seemed impossible. As the plane climbed higher into the sky, the hum of the engines became a constant backdrop. She adjusted her gear, checking her communication devices and ensuring her equipment was properly secured. Every item had a purpose, and every detail mattered. She reviewed her personal checklist silently, mentally going through procedures and protocols. Her focus was intense but quiet, a stark contrast to the chatter and nervous energy around her. Some of the soldiers nearby began to notice her dedication. They saw the way she moved with precision, the way she checked and rechecked her gear, the calm confidence in her eyes. It was clear that she was experienced and highly capable, though no one yet knew the full extent of her reputation. Her silence was not shyness, it was strength. It was a way of commanding attention without words, of demonstrating that she was prepared for anything. Hours passed as the plane continued its journey. The woman remained focused, her mind working through potential scenarios. She thought about the terrain they would encounter, the challenges of the mission, and the coordination required with the pilots escorting the transport. She considered how to respond to unexpected obstacles and how to support her fellow soldiers if situations became critical. Every possibility was weighed and assessed, every detail planned for in her mind. Around her, conversations continued, but she did not engage. Occasionally, a soldier would glance in her direction, noticing her calm demeanor, but they quickly returned to their own preparations. Some may have underestimated her, assuming that her quiet presence meant she was inexperienced or new to the field. They could not have been more wrong. Her years of training and experience had taught her that actions, not words, were the true measure of capability. By remaining quiet, she allowed her skills and composure to speak for themselves. She also observed her surroundings carefully. In a room full of soldiers, there were subtle cues that could indicate stress, uncertainty, or potential issues. She noted who seemed nervous, who was focused, and who might need support once the mission began. Her training had taught her to read people as well as situations. Understanding her team and anticipating their needs could be just as critical as executing her own tasks perfectly. She made mental notes, prepared to act if necessary, all while maintaining the calm, composed exterior that had become her trademark. Despite the tension and the weight of the mission ahead, she allowed herself a moment of reflection. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, the challenges she had overcome, and the people who had supported and guided her along the way. She thought about the sacrifices required to reach this level of skill and expertise. It had not been easy, but every challenge had strengthened her resolve, sharpened her abilities, and prepared her for the responsibilities she now carried. The flight continued, steady and uneventful for the moment, but she remained vigilant. She knew that in moments of calm, preparation was just as important as action. Every procedure, every check, every mental rehearsal was part of a larger strategy to ensure success. She had learned to trust in her training, to remain adaptable, and to act decisively when the time came. Her quiet presence on the plane was a reflection of that discipline, a calm before the storm. As the hours passed, the other passengers gradually began to recognize the significance of her presence. They saw the way she moved, the way she observed, and the way she prepared. Whispers began to circulate among the soldiers, subtle comments about her skills, her focus, and her quiet authority. Though no one openly acknowledged it, there was a growing awareness that she was not just another passenger. She was someone whose experience and training demanded respect, even if she had not yet taken any overt action. She remained composed, allowing her reputation to quietly grow around her. She did not seek recognition or attention. It was simply a byproduct of her dedication and skill. Her mind was focused entirely on the mission ahead, mentally preparing for every scenario and ensuring that she could respond effectively. Every decision she had made, every obstacle she had overcome had led her to this moment. She was ready. As the plane neared its destination, she continued her quiet vigilance. The hum of the engines, the distant sounds of conversation, and the steady rhythm of the flight all became part of the background as she focused on what lay ahead. She knew that the true test of her abilities would come soon, and she was determined to meet it with the same calm, disciplined approach that had defined her career. Though she remained silent, the impact of her presence was already being felt. The soldiers around her could sense her experience, her confidence, and her preparedness. They may not have understood the full extent of her capabilities yet, but they were beginning to recognize that she was someone extraordinary. Her quiet composure was not a lack of energy or interest. It was a sign of strength, discipline, and readiness. As the plane continued on its path, the woman in the back remained focused, preparing for the challenges ahead. She had trained for moments like this her entire life, enduring hardships that most people could not imagine, and now she was ready to apply everything she had learned. The quiet passenger on the plane was a force to be reckoned with, a demonstration of the power of preparation, focus, and calm in the face of uncertainty. By the time the aircraft reached cruising altitude, the passengers around her had begun to feel the significance of her presence. They could see it in the way she moved, the way she checked her equipment, and the quiet intensity in her eyes. Though she had spoken no words, she had communicated volumes about her experience, her readiness, and her ability to handle whatever lay ahead. The quiet seal on the flight was already commanding respect, simply by being herself. And so she sat quietly in the back of the plane, fully prepared for the mission that awaited. Her calm exterior, her meticulous preparation, and her focused mind were the result of years of training, experience, and determination. She was ready for whatever challenges the mission would bring, and she would face them with the same quiet strength that had defined her career. The plane continued its journey, cutting through the clouds as the landscape below slowly shifted. The passengers, mostly soldiers, had settled into the routine of the flight. Some reviewed maps and notes, others ran final checks on their equipment, while a few leaned back, trying to catch a few moments of rest. The woman in the back remained focused, her posture straight, her eyes alert, and her hands busy organizing her gear. She had been trained to stay ready at all times, and there was no moment when she allowed herself to be distracted. For hours, the cabin had been quiet, the soft murmur of voices and occasional footsteps being the only sounds. Yet something was about to break the monotony in a way no one on the plane would soon forget. From the cockpit came the faint hum of radio chatter, and then a voice that carried a tone of curiosity and amusement. The fighter pilots assigned to escort the transport had picked up a signal on their communication channels, one that seemed unusual. A nickname was mentioned over the radio, Iron Fist. At first, the soldiers on the plane didn't understand the significance. It was a call sign, a name that had once been used in training exercises, a legend of sorts among the pilots. It referred to someone whose skill and determination were unmatched, someone capable of handling any situation with precision and calm. The pilots were joking lightly among themselves, sharing a moment of recognition for a figure they knew from previous encounters. But then their attention shifted, and they realized that the Iron Fist they had referenced was not some distant memory. It was here on the plane among the passengers. The pilots could sense it even before seeing her. Her calm demeanor, the way she checked her equipment, and the focused intensity she exuded were all unmistakable signs. The call sign wasn't just a nickname. It was a recognition of her experience, her reputation, and her unmatched capability in the field. Inside the cabin, the soldiers continued their preparations, unaware of the quiet exchange happening on the radio. The woman herself remained calm, as always, unaware that her presence had already caught the attention of the pilots. Her focus was entirely on the mission, on the procedures, on mentally reviewing every step she would take once they reached their destination. She moved methodically, checking her gear once more, securing her weapon, and ensuring that every detail was in place. The pilot's acknowledgement, though subtle, had a ripple effect. Among the soldiers on board, whispers began to spread. Some had noticed the intense focus of the woman in the back, the quiet efficiency with which she prepared for the mission. Now, as they overheard the pilot's communication, the realization began to sink in. This was not an ordinary passenger. This was someone extraordinary, a professional who had earned respect through years of training, missions, and dedication. As the plane continued over vast stretches of terrain, the woman's mind was already moving ahead. She anticipated the challenges they might face upon arrival. Terrain unfamiliar and potentially hostile, the need for coordination with local units or allied forces, and the possibility of encountering resistance or unforeseen obstacles. Her training had taught her to anticipate, to plan, and to adapt quickly. She reviewed scenarios in her mind, considering contingencies and imagining how she would respond if the mission did not go as expected. The pilots, meanwhile, kept their radios active, observing the transport from above. They watched the plane's movements, noting the precision with which it followed its planned route. Occasionally, they glanced down at the passengers visible through the windows, and their attention always returned to her. She did not draw attention to herself. She did not speak unnecessarily, but the aura of readiness and calm she carried was unmistakable. Iron Fist, they repeated quietly, a sign of respect and recognition for the formidable woman among the soldiers. Back in the cabin, the soldiers began to sense the subtle shift. The quiet confidence of the woman was no longer just a personal trait. It had become an unspoken authority that affected everyone around her. Some found themselves instinctively following her lead, organizing their own gear with greater care, reviewing procedures more thoroughly, and maintaining a level of focus they hadn't realized they needed. Her presence set the tone for the mission, silently inspiring those around her to elevate their own performance. She remained completely absorbed in her own preparation, but there was no mistaking her awareness of the environment. Her eyes scanned the cabin, noting who seemed nervous, who appeared confident, and who might need guidance once the mission began. She made mental notes, carefully cataloging the capabilities of her fellow soldiers. Understanding her team, even from a distance, was a crucial part of ensuring the mission's success. As the hours passed, the pilots continued to communicate on the radio. "Iron Fist, we've got your 6," one of them said quietly. It was a phrase that conveyed readiness to support, a subtle assurance that they recognized her skill and would act in coordination with her if necessary. Though she did not respond verbally, she acknowledged it with a subtle nod in the direction of the cockpit, a silent confirmation that she understood and appreciated their awareness. The soldiers in the cabin began to grasp the significance of the exchange. They had watched her quietly and with some curiosity for hours, but now the acknowledgement from the pilots transformed their perception. This was no ordinary passenger. This was a seasoned professional whose reputation extended beyond the walls of the plane, recognized by other highly trained personnel in the air above. Despite the recognition and whispers around her, she remained focused on her own responsibilities. She checked her navigation tools, reviewed the mission's objectives, and ensured that her communication devices were functioning correctly. Every detail mattered. Her calm exterior masked a mind working at full capacity, processing information, predicting potential challenges, and preparing responses. The recognition from the pilots was not a distraction, it was validation. It confirmed that her preparation, discipline, and training were noticed and respected by those who shared the same level of commitment to excellence. Yet she did not dwell on it. She remained grounded in the present, fully aware that the true test would come once they reached the operational area. Around her, the soldiers grew increasingly aware of her presence and the quiet authority she exuded. Some began to approach her with questions, seeking guidance on minor details or asking for clarification on procedures. She responded calmly and succinctly, offering precise instructions or confirming existing plans without unnecessary elaboration. Her answers were clear, authoritative, and accurate, reinforcing the growing respect she commanded among her peers. The flight continued, and with every passing hour, the anticipation of the mission increased. The pilots maintained their escort, monitoring for any potential threats or unexpected developments. Their attention remained on the transport, but their communication frequently referenced the woman in the back, Iron Fist, as if to remind each other of the level of skill present on the plane. It was both a mark of respect and a strategic consideration. Knowing that a highly trained professional was on board provided reassurance and confidence. Inside the cabin, the soldiers' own focus sharpened. They observed her carefully, noticing her methodical approach to every task, her attention to detail, and the calm efficiency with which she prepared. Some had initially underestimated her, thinking her quiet demeanor indicated inexperience or lack of confidence. Now it was clear that she was a leader by example, someone whose expertise and composure set a standard for everyone around her. She did not seek recognition. She did not announce her skills or accomplishments. Her presence was quiet, almost understated, but it spoke volumes. The pilot's acknowledgement had only amplified what was already evident to anyone paying attention. She was prepared, capable, and unflinching in the face of uncertainty. As the plane neared the operational zone, the anticipation in the cabin grew. Soldiers reviewed their mission objectives one final time, checked their equipment, and mentally rehearsed their roles. The woman in the back remained calm, systematically going through her own checklist, ensuring that every detail was in place. Her focus was unwavering, her mind sharp, and her resolve unbreakable. The pilot's communication continued, subtle and professional, but with an undertone of respect. "Iron Fist, stay sharp," one said quietly. It was more than a tactical reminder. It was an acknowledgement of her experience, her skill, and the respect she had earned from fellow professionals in high-stakes environments. By the time the plane approached its destination, the soldiers around her had fully realized her significance. The quiet passenger who had seemed ordinary at the beginning of the flight was now understood to be someone extraordinary. She had earned their respect through her actions, her preparation, and the calm authority she radiated. The acknowledgement from the pilots had served to highlight what had been evident all along. She was highly skilled, capable, and ready to face the challenges ahead. The woman remained focused, prepared, and fully engaged. Her mind was ready for the mission, and her body was alert for any action required. She had trained for years to handle situations like this, enduring physical and mental challenges that tested every limit. Now, in the quiet moments before landing, all that preparation converged into a single point of readiness. The soldiers around her, the pilots above, and even the unseen forces they might encounter were all aware, in one way or another, that a remarkable professional was on board. Her calm, quiet presence had transformed the atmosphere, instilling focus, confidence, and anticipation. She did not boast, she did not command loudly, but her skill, preparation, and silent authority were unmistakable. And so, as the plane continued toward its destination, the woman in the back remained focused, ready for whatever challenges awaited. The call sign, Iron Fist, echoed subtly among the pilots and soon among the soldiers, a quiet but powerful recognition of her skill, determination, and readiness. The quiet seal had already made her presence felt, proving that true leadership and respect are earned through action, preparation, and unwavering calm under pressure. The plane began its descent, the engine's hum shifting slightly as the pilots prepared for landing. Outside, the terrain stretched wide and unbroken, a mix of rugged hills, forests, and small villages. The operational area awaited them, and the tension inside the cabin grew as each soldier focused on their upcoming tasks. The woman in the back remained calm, her posture upright, eyes alert, and hands busy reviewing her gear. Everything about her radiated readiness, a quiet assurance that she was fully prepared for whatever lay ahead. As the aircraft lowered toward the landing zone, the pilots maintained their escort formation. They had flown hundreds of missions, but their eyes kept returning to the transport plane and to the figure they recognized as Iron Fist. The call sign had become more than a nickname. It was now a symbol of skill, composure, and leadership in high-pressure situations. The pilots' respect for her was clear in the way they coordinated, their communications precise and professional. Inside, the soldiers checked their equipment one final time. Maps were folded and reviewed, radios tested, and weapons double-checked. Some glanced at the woman, noticing her meticulous attention to detail. She moved methodically from one task to the next, ensuring that nothing was overlooked. Her calmness was contagious. Soldiers who had been tense or nervous now felt a sense of steadiness simply by watching her work. The plane touched down smoothly, the landing gear absorbing the shock as the wheels met the tarmac. The pilots executed the approach with precision, guiding the transport to a secure area. The soldiers remained seated until given the command to move, and the woman continued her quiet preparation. She checked her gear one last time, confirmed her communication channels, and adjusted her equipment to ensure ease of movement. Every motion was purposeful, reflecting the countless hours of training and experience she carried with her. When the order came, the soldiers began to disembark. The woman led with a calm efficiency, moving through the cabin, helping others if needed but never slowing her own pace. Her presence inspired confidence. Each step she took seemed to set the rhythm for the soldiers around her. They followed, reassured by her quiet authority, ready to execute the mission with precision. The terrain outside was challenging. Rough hills, scattered trees, and uneven ground created obstacles that demanded attention. The team moved in formation, maintaining communication and ensuring that everyone stayed within sight. The woman took a position that allowed her to observe the surroundings while remaining ready to act. Her eyes scanned the landscape, noting potential hazards, alternative routes, and areas of tactical advantage. She had trained for environments like this, and her experience allowed her to anticipate challenges before they arose. As they moved forward, the pilots overhead kept a close watch. Their radios occasionally transmitted brief updates, but mostly they stayed alert, monitoring the transport and its surroundings. "Iron Fist, we've got your 6," one pilot said quietly, a routine check-in that carried more weight than the words alone suggested. It was a reminder that support was present, and it reinforced the trust between the ground team and the air support. The soldiers encountered their first minor obstacle, a narrow pass flanked by dense vegetation. Moving through it required careful coordination and vigilance. The woman led the way, her movements precise and deliberate. She signaled for the team to proceed cautiously, demonstrating the importance of patience and observation. Her experience was evident in every decision, from the speed of movement to the selection of paths that minimized exposure and maximized security. Communication remained constant but discreet. Radios transmitted brief updates, confirmation signals, and alerts. The pilots adjusted their positions slightly, ensuring visibility and coverage. Their coordination with the ground team was seamless, a testament to training and mutual respect. Every signal, gesture, and word was purposeful, and the woman's awareness ensured that nothing went unnoticed. As they continued, the terrain grew more complex. Uneven ground, small streams, and scattered rocks demanded attention and adaptability. Soldiers navigated carefully, adjusting their pace and footing. The woman moved among them, observing, guiding, and ensuring that everyone maintained situational awareness. Her presence was steadying, reinforcing the idea that preparation, calmness, and skill were just as critical as physical ability. Hours passed as they advanced toward the objective. The team encountered occasional challenges: fallen trees, narrow ridges, and small clusters of buildings. Each required careful planning and coordination. The woman's experience guided every decision. She assessed risks, suggested alternative routes, and adjusted their approach when needed. Her ability to anticipate potential issues before they became problems demonstrated the depth of her training and the value of her presence. The pilots overhead continued to monitor, providing reassurance and support. "Iron Fist, keep us updated," one said quietly, a subtle reminder that coordination between air and ground units was crucial. The woman acknowledged the message with a small nod, maintaining focus on the path ahead. The soldiers around her continued to observe, taking cues from her demeanor and actions. They were learning not just about the mission, but about leadership in high-pressure environments. As the day progressed, the team reached a more open area where movement was easier but exposure increased. The woman adjusted her approach, using cover and terrain to maintain security. She signaled for breaks at appropriate intervals, ensuring that the team remained alert and ready. Her judgment reflected a balance of caution and efficiency, understanding that both were necessary for success. The soldiers began to appreciate the depth of her knowledge. They observed her choices, noting how she assessed each situation and guided the team through it. Her calmness never wavered, even in moments that might have seemed tense or uncertain. Her ability to remain focused while managing multiple variables was remarkable, reinforcing why the call sign, Iron Fist, had become so fitting. As they neared the operational area, the woman conducted a final review of their positioning, checking each team member's readiness. She reminded them of key points, signals, and objectives, ensuring that everyone understood their roles. The soldiers responded with quiet efficiency, their confidence bolstered by her steady presence. The pilots overhead maintained formation, adjusting their vantage points to monitor potential threats and provide guidance. Their communication was minimal but meaningful, reflecting a shared understanding of the importance of the mission and the capabilities of the team on the ground. "Iron Fist, all clear from above," one transmitted, a simple statement that conveyed both recognition and reassurance. The woman continued to lead with precision. Every decision, every step, every signal was purposeful. Her training had prepared her for these moments, and she executed with the confidence of someone who had faced similar challenges countless times before. Her team, inspired by her example, matched her focus and discipline, moving with coordinated efficiency toward their objective. By the time the team reached the final approach to the operational area, the environment was fully under their control. The soldiers moved with practiced ease, their confidence and efficiency a direct reflection of the woman's leadership and example. The pilots above provided silent support, maintaining visual coverage and readiness to assist if needed. The woman paused for a moment, scanning the area, ensuring that the team was positioned correctly and that all contingencies had been considered. She communicated briefly with the pilots, confirming their positions and receiving acknowledgement. Her mind remained alert, aware that success depended not only on individual skill, but on coordination, timing, and awareness of the entire environment. The soldiers, now fully attuned to her approach and leadership, followed her lead with trust and precision. They moved efficiently, responding to her signals and guidance, confident in her judgment and expertise. The combination of her calm authority, extensive experience, and careful planning had transformed a challenging approach into a controlled, coordinated operation. The pilots continued to acknowledge her efforts, reinforcing the mutual respect and trust that had developed. "Iron Fist, situation looks stable," one said, a statement of reassurance and recognition. The woman responded with a subtle nod, maintaining focus while silently acknowledging the support. By the end of the approach, the team had reached their objective efficiently and safely. The soldiers were alert, well-positioned, and prepared for the tasks ahead. The woman's presence had guided them through every challenge, her calmness and expertise serving as the foundation for their success. The pilots overhead maintained formation, a constant reminder of the coordination and trust that had enabled the operation to proceed smoothly. The team paused briefly to regroup, checking equipment, reviewing objectives, and ensuring readiness for the next stage. The woman remained vigilant, observing every detail, confirming that the team remained alert and maintaining communication with the pilots. Her experience ensured that no detail was overlooked, that every risk was mitigated, and that the team remained prepared for any situation. As the sun began to lower toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the terrain, the woman in the back reflected silently on the progress of the mission. Her calm demeanor had guided her team, her focus had ensured preparedness, and her experience had transformed potential challenges into manageable tasks. The soldiers around her recognized her skill, her leadership, and her unwavering professionalism. The pilots overhead, continuing to maintain visual coverage, communicated periodically, reinforcing the connection between air and ground. Their respect for her was clear, both in their words and in their precise support. "Iron Fist, excellent coordination," one said quietly, a simple statement that conveyed acknowledgement, trust, and recognition of her capabilities. The mission, though ongoing, had already been shaped by her presence. Every decision she made, every signal she gave, and every step she took had contributed to the team's efficiency, safety, and readiness. Her calm authority had created an environment where focus, discipline, and preparedness flourished. As the team prepared for the next stage, the soldiers around her continued to observe and learn. They recognized that leadership was not about loud commands or overt displays. It was about skill, preparation, calmness, and the ability to guide others through example. The woman, quietly efficient, had demonstrated all of these qualities, earning respect and admiration from every person on the ground and in the air. And so, as the mission continued, she remained alert, prepared, and composed. Her calm presence, meticulous planning, and unwavering focus ensured that the team remained ready, confident, and coordinated. The pilots overhead continued to acknowledge her, reinforcing the mutual trust and respect that had developed. The woman, the quiet seal known as Iron Fist, had once again proven that true leadership is earned through action, preparation, and the ability to remain calm under pressure. The team had reached their objective. The terrain before them was challenging, but now familiar, each obstacle carefully navigated thanks to the woman in the back. She had led them through the journey with calm precision, guiding each soldier step by step, and her presence had turned what could have been chaos into a coordinated, disciplined operation. She paused for a moment, scanning the area, ensuring that every team member was in position, equipment checked, and communication lines clear. Around her, the soldiers moved efficiently, their confidence evident in each careful motion. They had been inspired by her example, observing the way she approached every challenge with focus and calm. Even the most experienced soldiers found themselves reflecting on how much they had learned simply by watching her handle the operation. Her quiet leadership had transformed them, showing that true guidance does not always come through loud orders, but through demonstration, preparation, and presence. The pilots overhead maintained their positions, silently watching the team on the ground. Occasionally, a brief communication came over the radio, a confirmation, a note of support, or a check-in. "Iron Fist, all clear from above," one pilot transmitted. The words were simple, but they carried profound meaning. They were an acknowledgement of her skill, her command of the situation, and her ability to coordinate seamlessly with others even under pressure. She responded with a small nod, keeping her focus on the team while silently acknowledging the support above. The next phase of the mission required careful movement into a secured location. The team had to navigate narrow pathways, climb slight inclines, and position themselves strategically. The woman took the lead, moving steadily and deliberately, her body relaxed yet ready for action at any moment. Her eyes constantly scanned the surroundings, noting areas of cover, lines of sight, and possible obstacles. Each movement she made was purposeful, reflecting the culmination of years of training and experience. The soldiers around her followed in sync, adjusting their pace according to her signals. They trusted her judgment, aware that every decision was backed by knowledge, skill, and foresight. Her quiet authority had become the anchor for the team, providing them with a sense of security and direction even in unfamiliar terrain. As they advanced, the woman remained vigilant. She monitored the team for fatigue, ensured that communication devices were functioning, and kept a mental checklist of their objectives and progress. Her attention to detail was remarkable. Every small decision, from choosing the safest path to the proper spacing between team members, was considered carefully. The soldiers began to see the difference that preparation and focus could make, and it influenced their own actions, reinforcing discipline and awareness throughout the group. The environment presented challenges, as it always does in real missions. Small streams required careful crossing, uneven ground demanded precise footing, and dense vegetation obstructed lines of sight. The woman handled each obstacle with calm efficiency, demonstrating how to approach problems methodically and without panic. She communicated through gestures and signals, ensuring coordination without unnecessary noise or confusion. Her actions taught a powerful lesson. Leadership often means showing the way and giving others the tools to succeed, rather than directing them verbally at every turn. Hours passed as the team made steady progress. The soldiers grew more confident, relying on her experience and trusting her guidance. Even the quietest or most hesitant members began to move with purpose, encouraged by her steady example. They were learning not just to follow orders, but to think critically, assess situations, and act decisively, skills essential in high-pressure environments. The pilots above continued to maintain coverage, a reassuring presence for the team on the ground. "Iron Fist, we've got your rear," one said, confirming that the area behind them was secure. These communications were subtle, professional, and respectful, reflecting the trust between air and ground units. The woman acknowledged the message with a subtle nod, keeping her focus on the team's movements while knowing that support was present and reliable. Finally, the team reached the main operational area. It was a wide clearing, offering both opportunities and challenges. The soldiers were positioned strategically, and the woman took a moment to conduct a final assessment. She checked equipment, confirmed positions, and ensured that every team member was ready for the next phase. Her attention to detail ensured that nothing was overlooked and that the team was prepared for any eventuality. The pilots overhead provided a brief status update, noting that the airspace was secure and that their observation coverage was complete. "Iron Fist, excellent coordination," one of them said quietly, a statement that acknowledged her skill and her ability to maintain control over complex operations. The woman responded with her characteristic calm nod, her attention unwavering as she continued to monitor the team and their environment. The soldiers moved with confidence, performing their assigned tasks with precision. They had learned to trust her guidance, observe her example, and anticipate challenges based on her experience. Her presence had transformed the group into a cohesive unit, capable of handling difficulties without panic or confusion. As the day continued, the mission progressed smoothly. The team encountered minor obstacles, uneven terrain, small logistical challenges, but each was handled with efficiency and professionalism. The woman's calm demeanor remained constant, a steady influence that ensured the soldiers stayed focused, aware, and coordinated. She demonstrated how preparation, focus, and attention to detail could turn even a difficult operation into a controlled, successful one. The pilots continued their watch from above, occasionally providing updates or confirming security. "Iron Fist, situation stable," one transmitted. It was a small message, but its significance was enormous. It acknowledged her ability to maintain control, coordinate effectively, and lead a team through complex operations. She had earned not just the respect of her team, but also that of the skilled pilots who had observed her from the sky. By mid-afternoon, the team had completed the primary objectives of the mission. Equipment was checked, positions confirmed, and objectives secured. The soldiers gathered briefly to regroup, reviewing what had been accomplished and preparing for extraction. The woman took a final moment to ensure that everything was in order, that the team remained alert, and that communication channels were fully functional. Her thoroughness ensured that nothing was left to chance. The soldiers were impressed by her leadership. They had observed firsthand how a calm, prepared, and experienced professional could guide a team through complex challenges with efficiency and confidence. Even the most experienced among them had learned valuable lessons about planning, observation, and coordination. The quiet seal in the back had proven that leadership was not about loud commands, but about preparation, skill, and the ability to inspire others through example. As the extraction phase began, the team moved with coordinated precision. The pilots maintained formation, ensuring that the transport and the team were safe during their return. The woman led with calm authority, signaling movements and guiding the team through the extraction process with efficiency. Her presence continued to instill confidence, ensuring that every action was deliberate and coordinated. The soldiers followed her lead, moving smoothly and efficiently. They communicated through signals and brief phrases, guided by her example and direction. The pilots above observed and provided support as needed, acknowledging her skill and maintaining seamless coordination. The call sign, Iron Fist, remained in use, a quiet but powerful recognition of her expertise, composure, and ability to lead effectively. As the mission neared completion, the team reached the aircraft safely. Soldiers reboarded in an orderly fashion, guided by her precise instructions. Equipment was checked one last time, ensuring nothing was left behind. The pilots maintained formation overhead, providing a sense of security as the team prepared for departure. The woman remained vigilant throughout, ensuring that every detail was attended to, every member accounted for, and every procedure followed. Her calm presence ensured a smooth transition from ground operation to airborne extraction. The soldiers, now fully confident in her leadership, moved efficiently and without hesitation, reflecting the discipline and focus she had instilled in them throughout the mission. As the aircraft lifted off, the team settled into their seats, their faces showing relief, confidence, and admiration. The woman checked her gear, reviewed communications, and ensured that the team was fully secure. The pilots above continued to monitor, acknowledging her skill with subtle comments over the radio. "Iron Fist, outstanding execution," one said quietly. It was a simple acknowledgement, but it carried immense weight, recognizing not just the success of the mission, but the leadership and expertise that had made it possible. The soldiers around her began to speak in hushed tones, reflecting on what they had witnessed. They discussed her calm authority, her precise decisions, and her ability to coordinate the team seamlessly. Some admitted that they had initially underestimated her, only to be proven wrong by her skill, experience, and composure. They realized that leadership often comes quietly, through example and preparation rather than words alone. The woman in the back remained modest. She did not seek praise or recognition. Her focus was always on the mission, the team, and ensuring that everything was executed correctly. Yet, despite her quiet demeanor, her influence was undeniable. The team had performed with confidence, efficiency, and professionalism, guided by her steady presence. As the plane continued toward base, the pilots overhead occasionally checked in, reaffirming their support and acknowledging her skill. "Iron Fist, mission successful from our perspective," one said. The words were simple, but they represented respect, trust, and recognition earned through action and preparation. The woman acknowledged the message with a subtle nod, maintaining her focus while silently appreciating the acknowledgement. By the time the aircraft touched down at base, the team had completed the mission successfully. Soldiers disembarked with confidence, their equipment secure and their objectives achieved. The woman remained calm, methodically checking gear and ensuring that every member was accounted for. Her quiet efficiency had guided the operation from start to finish, ensuring success without unnecessary drama or fanfare. The pilots debriefed briefly, their respect for her evident in their professional comments. "Iron Fist, exceptional coordination and control," one noted. The soldiers who had been on the ground spoke of her leadership with admiration, recognizing the discipline, focus, and calm authority she had demonstrated throughout the mission. In the end, the woman's quiet strength had earned her the respect of everyone involved, from her fellow soldiers to the pilots who observed her from above. Her calm presence, Meticulous preparation and skillful execution had transformed a potentially challenging mission into a successful, coordinated operation. She had proven that true leadership is earned not through words, but through action, preparation, and unwavering composure under pressure. As the sun began to set, casting warm light over the base, the woman gathered her gear and moved with purpose. She did not seek recognition, but she had earned it nonetheless. Her reputation as Iron Fist had been reinforced, respected by soldiers and pilots alike. The mission had been a testament to her training, experience, and leadership, leaving a lasting impression on everyone who had witnessed it. And as she walked quietly through the base, preparing for the next mission, it was clear to all who had observed her that the true measure of a professional is not in words, but in action, preparation, and the calm assurance that comes from knowing one is ready for anything.